Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special edition of Fig Night at the Tavern. I am the OG Fig Kid, Thomas Montalto.
My name is Snead.
I'm Mike Belcaster, and tonight we have a very special guest. It is the project copyright at Mattel, Robert Rudman. Thank you so much for joining us, Robert. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me, guys. Really nice being on here and seeing all your lovely faces on this beautiful mid-Tuesday.
Yeah, man, this is exciting. We're all here for one reason. We're here to talk about the new gen arena, the crowdfunded, I'm going to say the first crowdfunded project by Mattel for WWE action figure collectors. Rob, let's talk a little bit. What does this whole project mean to you?
It's big. I mean, crowdfunding is like starting to get into into the collectorverse, and this is, like you said, this is Mattel's first step. So, we really want to succeed. We're doing pretty good so far. And, we're almost at a midway point as far as this conversation. And we've still got plenty of time with a couple of big milestones left to go. But really what it means is this is a chance for the collector community, for all of us, to get items, to get products that we would have never been able to get before. We've been hearing for so long, why doesn't Mattel do this item for collectors? Why doesn't Mattel do like the entrance stage for collectors? Why isn't there the authentic scale ring? I mean, these are conversations that are regardless of like the noise that is and isn't happening right now. Over the years, these have been the conversations that have been happening. So for us to put really authentic and to scale items, on top of which being able to deliver Ultimate Edition figures that we didn't really think that we would ever get a chance to do. The Macho that's in the Macho Madness pack. I mean, the deco on that is insane. Steve said it several times that he was like, I didn't think we'd ever be able to do this one because it's so deco intensive. So for everyone being like, oh, Mattel will just do it. How will we ever do it this again? This is the way to get it done for you guys. For me too. I want this.
Right.
Yeah.
Doink. I mean, how, Doink as an Ultimate Edition figure? Never would have thought that would have even been possible. And now it is. So for us, these Mattel Creations executions and this crowdfunding campaign is a way to do not the impossible, but the highly improbable.
Absolutely.
That's a great way to put it. Because, I've been a wrestling figure collector for 36 years since LJNs came out. And when I saw this ring, when I saw this ring, I was like, that's what I've been waiting for my whole life. And I'm not even exaggerating. I've had so many different versions of rings, and I've always dreamed of having a ring of what you showed during that premiere. It's authentic. The turnbuckles, everything about it, the wood underneath. It's amazing. So, like, I've already ordered 3. I have a passion for this project. I'm on the boards and I'm promoting it. I'm telling people you have to order it. Like, it's an amazing thing. And if you don't order it and you miss out, you're going to feel sorry later when next year, when you say next year, this is totally me making this up. There's a Hell in a Cell, but now you don't have the ring.
Yeah. That's right. I mean, that's something that we had like talked about. And it's like, we don't, people, part of the feedback has been, there are a bunch of authentic scale rings. One, this is the last one that you would ever need because we're really making it truly to scale in a way that's never been done before. The whole way that it's constructed is where you build it like a real ring. Some people might be like, well, if I'm going to display that, you can't really see it, but that's all about the experience. That's a very experiential way to build a toy and really kind of dive into how real wrestlers, when they're coming up through the business, have to set up the rings.
Absolutely.
And I mean, going back, I too was an LJN kid. My LJN ring completely crashed the day I took King Kong Bundy to do a splash off the top rope, and it's like completely demolished it. you know, and we've had like rings large and small, but it's not just about the ring. It's like this entrance stage, which, you know, we call new generation, but really it's a classic entrance stage. Start WrestleMania 8, was used on Raw, was used on Superstars, was on Hulk Hogan's entrance when you see him walking through it. This piece is so iconic and going to have more lights to go, with more lights than any item that I think that we've ever done before. So what does that mean? That means it's not going to be rinky dink. That means that it's going to go through the patterns of various guys when they came out, you know, whether it's Diesel or Razor or Mach or Sean, when they used to come through, and you'll recognize some of those patterns, as well as a few new ones that people can play around with for a whole new experience. So this thing is awesome. The first time that I saw the model in person, because I want to make it clear, because people have been like, oh, Mattel's told this, we have not told this. All this stuff, the Diesel that you've seen, the ring, the entranceway, all of those are models that we built in order to show you guys the potential of what this can be. And when I saw it the first time, I was like, this is the coolest damn thing I've ever seen. The turnbuckles, the fabric turnbuckles are so dope. They're so dope. They're really cool. They're like nice and chunky, so you really get a feel of like that they really are to scale with the figures.
That's awesome. No, I used to work on the indies for a couple of years, and I really want to put over the fact that, like, how much detail you put into the ring itself, because like putting those boards up is a pain, you know, doing all that. But to see it put down into a figure form, a really nice, beautiful, like almost like you know, people used to collect train sets. This is our versions of those train sets in this day and age, you know. But to be somebody who's done that before and see the intricacy that you really put into not just that, but the turnbuckle pads and all that kind of stuff, like it sold it instantly for me. And I'm not even a big new gen era person. I'm 33. I caught on just about the tail end of the new gen era. That's like where I really started diving into it. But I think that this is almost the perfect display piece you could possibly get. And I know you guys are working really hard to be able to put it back in the box, you know, and not have it just taking up the living room the entire time. Like I have my entire house is just, you know, toys and play sets all over the place. But like I appreciate that, because that's something, you know, as somebody who's buying it, you know, I've ordered 2. I'm definitely probably going to order 1 more, just because, you know, you guys put out the Macho Man and all this stuff, and who wouldn't want extras of these things? But I do like that you guys are listening to people who are, you know, asking these questions. How are we going to display it? What are we doing after we want to take it down? Is it just going to sit in a tote? Is it just going to be, you know, getting dust in my closet or whatever? But you're working really hard to get these packaging right, so we could take it apart, put it away nicely, not just let it sit there and, you know, collect dust and stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's all part of the Ultimate Edition unpacking or unboxing experience. Is you take it out and you take a picture, or you play with your kid with it, and then you can put it back into the box as if it was, you know, fresh off the shelf. And you know, you had mentioned the pack out, so I'm glad that word is getting around about like, we've got a couple of these things about you know, for anyone who is who hasn't caught up to that yet, the way that we're planning on packing it out is that it's going to be, you can take it out, you can do your thing with it, and then pack it back in. It's going to have Diesel and Doink in Ultimate Edition style packaging, right? And next to that is going to be the entranceway, and that's going to be one layer. And then underneath that is going to be the ring with all the components and accessories and stuff like that. So it's going to be very neat and very easy to put away. I mean, and to your point about like the appreciation as on the indie circuit, when we first showed this on our Comic-Con panel, like Gargano and Cole and even like Bianca and Dominic, you know, because everyone's had to do it. Everyone's had to put together a ring. As soon as they saw that, you kind of saw that flicker of like, I can relate to that.
Absolutely. It's really cool. It's just a nice detail, which hasn't been done before. It's nothing we've seen. It might be something we might never see again. So that's why I force the importance of backing this thing. I want it to succeed. I want more from you guys down the line in this kind of manner. But also, like, this is a really cool product, and like I said, I'm not a big new gen era person. I collect the figures from it and stuff like that, of course, but I still I love that entrance stage. Like you guys said, it's the most LED work you've put into a toy. That's awesome. It's so cool to see the work and passion behind this project on your guys' end. It drives me to want to do more with it. It's really
That's
cool.
great. That's great. I love hearing that. I really love.
Yeah.
I love. One of the things I definitely love is how is how passion, like authentic passion, is contagious, right? People who really feel something. It's just like you're really making me want to feel it. I've been on both sides of that now. And for me also, being able to add to my Ultimate Edition collection, like I said, if my wife was like, you got to get rid of everything, I was like, everything? Like, you can keep one thing. It would be my Ultimate Edition collection, because to me, those are like the dollar for dollar, the best figures that you can get out there. They're so much fun to play with. They're so much fun to pose out. They look awesome. It's instant customization in a box. I want Diesel. I want Doink. I want Macho WrestleMania 10.
Yeah, I mean, so a little bit about the design. Did you guys have to go back and get pictures and videos of them actually building a ring to actually put this together?
Oh, that's a Bill McKenna question, because he's the guy who designed it. But I do know that's like, we're always getting reference materials and stuff like that. And anyone who knows Bill knows how much he loves professional wrestling. Like, it is one of his true it's how he got the job as the lead designer on WWE to begin with. But there was definitely like, let's make sure that these the measurements are right. Let's here are the measurements that we think we are. Bill double check to make sure that we're doing that. Double check to make sure that the size of the posts, it should like be even on like the where the apron gets to the ring. Like, we want it to be perfectly in sync, so it definitely feels like it. I do. One of the things that I will say is kind of like a caveat is, when you see these things in person, it's like almost like, is that too big? And then you take a look at the video, and it's like, oh no, these things were pretty huge. You just don't remember it. Maybe because like Kevin Nash is a 7 foot tall dude coming through that entrance way. But yeah, he completely like double checked to make sure it was to scale.
It's awesome. Yeah, we had Sam Roberts on one of our last couple episodes, and he was talking about the one thing I think people misinterpreted so much is that entrance stage is not, a tiny piece of plastic. It's look at Diesel. Diesel's a big guy. Okay, you're talking an Ultimate figure, not like a bone crushing action figure from the early '90s. This thing's got to be a huge piece of equipment. A collection piece. It can go with anything, just not this play set. You could put your retros in front of it. You could stick your legends in front of it, and it'll look just as good. And there's so much room for creativity with it. If you're a figure photographer, or somebody that does stop motion stuff, even, I see this becoming a huge awesome like pinnacle of your collection.
Oh yeah, people have reached out about that. I just think, just to kind of like put it on display, like on my shelf, I've got Sean and Diesel in the Heartbreak Hotel, the little like put together set that we did from flashbacks. I love little things like that. Like, I've got my guys lined up, but then I've got other sections where it's a little bit of storytelling, and this is totally a storytelling piece. I had another thought, but completely lost my train of it. But yeah, I mean, whether you're doing photography or whether you just want to have it on a shelf, I mean, think about how gorgeous that's going to look. It's got those beautiful neon lights that I think that could really kind of showcase, the shelf that it sits on. Like if you just picture, like, I'm just imagining right now, you put that entranceway as a backdrop, and then you've got that era of the late to mid 90s figures that you have in front of it. Flip on the light switch and just kind of like imagine in your head how that, like, you guys know your own collections of what you've got on your shelf. Just imagine that collection with like that warm neon glow behind it. It's impossible for it to not take you back, whether you like started watching later on or like me and Thomas and been around. I mean, the first match that kind of got me watching was when Tito took the IC belt off Valentine. So that'll tell you about how long I've been watching.
I was watching then. I remember that.
Yeah.
I was a little before that. I was before WrestleMania 1, which I believe that match was too, wasn't it?
It was.
I think so yeah. But so here's the other thing with this ring. People saying, "Oh, the ring itself is the golden era ring." Other than, the skirt is a little different. There'll be customized skirts available, so you can make this ring any generation ring you want. I'm sure there'll be websites selling additions to change it up to give it the look that you want. You're never going to get another authentic ring like the way you said you built it. Don't let that stop you. You'll get the skirts that you want. There's plenty of people on Instagram selling customizations for wrestling figures, for shirts, for everything. You're gonna if you didn't watch during that time, it's still a ring that you could use for any generation. For any generation.
And hey, we get to 8,000, then you get your in your house skirts and your WrestleMania skirts, and that WrestleMania skirt is eternal. Like, you can put that into any single one, and I think that could work with anywhere from Hogan and Piper, Hogan, Piper, and Orndorff versus Mr. T or Hogan and T versus Piper and Orndorff up until modern day guys inside of a WrestleMania ring. There's, that logo is absolutely eternal. Plus, who knows what the future holds with us, right? Like, if we do wind up doing Hell in the Cell with like a Mankind and an Undertaker, and you get your Attitude Era Raw skirt, and or maybe you get the King of the Ring skirt to kind of like capture that event. When this succeeds, the possibilities are really, really open for us.
Yeah.
And it's been a wild ride, that's for sure. But I mean, this thing has not been stagnant, and that's the thing. I've been watching it literally like refresh.
I'm doing the same thing. Multiple times an hour, I pull out my phone and hit the refresh button. What's it up to now?
Yeah, and it's ticking up. It's like constantly ticking up. And we've already seen, we had the initial jump. We had the jump when Macho came in. And what we've got coming up are like, people were wondering, are we going to reveal anything? No, guys, this is the package. Like, we went above and beyond and deep digging and finding creative ways to do this Macho announcer set. But that's coming to an end this Friday. Yeah. It's coming to, you got a couple of days. So it's like some people are on the fence trying to figure it out. And I know that there are people who are like me on other crowdfunding things where you're like, oh, that's a lot of money, but I got to have it. That's a lot of money, but I want a piece of it, or it's a lot of money and I got the thing, but do I need it? And I'm in.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going to be seeing a lot of that on Friday, and then also towards the end of the campaign, because it's the hardcore guys like us. We've been in since day one. There are some people who are on the fence, and then there are people who it's just like, word is kind of like, it's interesting. I think it's sort of like trickling out. People not just in the US, in the UK, in international, there's the availability there. So it's like people who wanted us to do something like this, now's your chance. Like, I put my money where my mouth is. I work, I work on it. We're going to be doing like our reviews to make sure it's along the way, but I gotta have it. I gotta support it.
Yeah.
And, anyone who said, they wish that we would do something like this, we're doing something like this.
Absolutely. And I know a lot of people will complain about pricings and whatnot, because it comes with the territory, but I distinctly remember when Jax had the WWE line, they made these real scale play sets. And when I bought one from Toys R Us, they retailed at $199. You're talking 2 figures, an announcer's table. You get the extra headset, microphones, chairs, possibilities. We want Doink. We want all this stuff to come. Look, there's a value there that I think people are underestimating just because they see that initial $250 price tag and they're like, "Oof, that's a lot." But
You got to look.
I mean, yeah, those are real scale rings came out 10 years ago and they were $200. I mean, we're way advanced now, and the quality that's coming with this is surpassed that. And I think there's so much great stuff here for that price point. And I think I get the hard sell for it for a lot of people, but like if you're looking at those kind of times, that this is a steal for what we're getting.
Well, and I'd also say, like, as far as crowdfunding campaigns go, this price point, this $250 price point, is that's at like the bottom end.
Yeah.
Of what like you go out and see like crowdfunding campaigns that are out now, ones in the past, it's like they're at least twice as much pretty regularly. Like everyone remembers the barge, like the back of the barge. That thing was 5,000 people at $500, right? The Snake Mountain that came out, I was at one like 800 or $1,000.
Yeah,
it's an expensive campaign, but it's also intended to be, not necessarily because we're trying to be like, oh, give us as much money as you can, but because in order to deliver something that is this high quality and has this level of authenticity without cutting corners, you got to spend money. And $250 is a lot. If you don't have it, don't spend it. I don't want you to have to feel pressure that it's like, or be bullied. I've seen there's been this weird war going on. Why are you trying to force me? And why aren't you? It's like, if people are on the, I think that good conversation. I've seen a lot of good conversations out there too. Keep that up. I think that the more this gets talked about, the better that it is for all of us, especially those of us who are invested in it. But there's no need for a dust up. No one's trying to start a civil war in the wrestling community here. We just want people to have awesome product.
Absolutely.
That's exactly it. And I'll give a little tip to the people. Do what I did. I used my American Express reward dollars that have just been sitting there for a couple of years, and I paid for 2 of my rings.
What?
So even if you don't have enough to pay for a whole ring, you could get it for less if you save some dollars. Even if you just have $100, and now it's only costing you $150. So. Yeah. And like I said, if you break it down, would you buy a another Macho Man Ultimate Edition for $30? I would. Would you buy the Diesel for $30? I am. This ring, if it was alone, probably $150. I'd gladly play that. For the entrance stage, another $100. Yeah, you're getting your value. And one thing people don't understand, like, oh, put the Doink in now. The reason why there are tiers is because as more are produced, the production value goes down. So a ring might cost $150 to make. I'm just making up numbers at 5,000. But if it goes up to 7,000, it might only cost $100. So now they can afford to give you the Doink, which is why you get more as more people buy it. So I just hope people understand why like the Doink is at a level like that. It's not so Mattel can make more money. It's because the value goes down. The production value goes down so they can afford to give it to us for that price cost.
That's right. It's like, well, I mean, you get 5,000 people at $250, and then that pays for everything on that on that initial tier, and then you get 2,000 more people who are putting into an additional $250. Well, now we've got extra money to play with, and that means that we can do that Doink, and it really is the ultimate Doink. It's got the interior lining on the jacket and everything. It's got like all the faces that you want. Yeah, it's got like the Krusty the Clown face.
I saw that,
it's the pinnacle. Matt Bourne Doink the Clown that we're solely missing in our collection space.
It was the ultimate. I didn't know I needed until I saw it, and it's like, oh man, do I need that? But and the other thing is, you have to back it because the possibilities are endless of what could come in the future. We had Magic on last week, and he was talking about it and saying if this is successful for Mattel, well then Jazzwares will say, hey, maybe we could do something now. But
Yeah.
if it's not successful, Jazzwares is going to say, okay, well, there's not a market for this. So it leads to other great items with other companies for wrestling figures that we could get. So I mean, there's
For
so
sure.
many endless possibilities. The doors are wide open when this thing hits to 5,000,
Yeah.
and we can't wait.
Yeah, and shout out to Magic. It's my boy.
Yeah, he's great. We had a fun time with him, and like I said, he ordered his ring. He can't wait to get it. So
Yep.
Yeah,
No,
yeah. And you know what? For the community, I mean, I hope that's able. I hope that's able to happen. You know, we're living in a very special time as far as action figure collecting. We've got everyone is trying to, whether it's, you know, with us and then all these other companies all doing it in the same scale with I don't know, it just feels like this like amazing era to collect. And this Ultimate Edition ring feels like a logical next step to try to bring wrestling collectors into this modern era. Like there's no Toys R Us, there's no place where it's like you could get something like this. So we really want to do something that's that'll get us to that next level, and this is definitely like a next level item.
Absolutely, and it's something we're all working on together almost. We don't have those toy store moments anymore where you walk in and you see the big Ninja Turtle play set sitting out in front of you and you're like, wow, I have to have that. So
should I get
almost
that for my kid or myself?
Yeah, exactly. It's so like it's hard to replace that feeling. I think this crowdfunding is going to be the best opportunity to kind of get that same experience, where you're like, wow, maybe I do need one for my kids who just are starting to get into wrestling, and one for my collection as well. And like my little girls, they play with they love their Ultimate Charlotte. They play with all the women figures, and it's like that's it. As me as a father, I'm sitting here like, oh man, but they're like, they see things like this and they're like, this is better than my Barbie dream set, like this is where it's at. And I'm like, yeah, well, of course.
100%. Like my kids, so my boys are 7 and 5, and they've really gotten into wrestling recently. Like it's actually become like a nighttime activity where it's like they'll lay in bed and per their request we'll like watch a little bit of Raw and then a little bit of NXT, and then when it gets to Friday we'll like turn on SmackDown. When they play with it, like I started them off with our kid size with our regular basic rings, and they have fun with those. But when they come up here into the loft and then they see I've had like the main event ring, the like SmackDown main event ring, or one of the authentic scale rings, they're like, no, I want to play with that. So I had to take down my SmackDown ring, and now that is down there for them to play with. So now I need a new ring, and this ring has got to be better. So now, but they're going to want that one too. Because I know that they are. They're going to want to play with it. They're going to want to. They're going to want to pull back the mat and be the guys on those wooden planks.
Absolutely.
The other thing that I think is so exciting now, we talk about growing up in the LJN era, but now we have guys designing these toys and these figures who are collectors and who love the product, and that's showing through in a difference. When the guys did it when we were kids, they were doing it as a job. They didn't love it like we did. They didn't grow up with it. And I think that passion is showing through with all these type of projects.
Yeah, I mean, it's even coming through in like, take for example our recent Legends Jake, right? It had two looks, and the one in the green, like that's the LJN version of that. So we're looking about like, can we pay? How can we pay homage to that? Like the Ultimate Edition Macho that we put out, that's an homage to the old school Hasbro Macho, right? And Steve sent me something wild where one of the guys who created the animated X-Men series put up some pictures of his office. He's like, oh, this is a dream one. He had a bunch of toys. Some of those toys were the new Masters of the Universe figures, and he had a collection of Macho Mans, including the Ultimate Edition Macho and the Slim Jim one. And it's just crazy that this guy who really influenced us, you know, not just us as, you know, as the creators, but I think like us as a generation who does, like, seriously, anytime whenever someone says, hey, what's the music to X-Men, who doesn't go it's crazy to think that now that guy has our stuff on his shelf to inspire him to feel more creative and to feel like a kid in his own personal playground. So like minds, man, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Oh, that's awesome to hear.
See, those are the type of things that I do love to hear about it. And like I said, I'm so excited for this project. I have been championing for it since the minute you announced it. And I'm going to order just one more. I do need another one before the 13th, so I get another Macho Man.
That's right.
So, yes, I have to get to another Macho Man. And I'm beyond excited. I can't wait to have it in my hands and set up. I have a whole room in my basement designed just to my figures. And in the middle, I have a table, which is right in front of me, where I had this table specifically designed to have the rings on it. And I have the Raw main event ring. And I can't wait to have the new Gen Arena on this table right in front of me. So people, make sure you go back. You won't regret it. I'm telling you, the future that is amazing. I'm so excited. I don't remember the last time I've been this excited about something for my wrestling figures in a very, very long time. So
couldn't be said better, Tom.
But all right, Robert, thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate it. We're trying to spread the word. There's the website right down there. So if you haven't gone there yet, go check it out. Go look at what's available. Look at the pictures. We've showed some during tonight's broadcast. So make sure go check it out. You won't regret it.
We're one person away from 2,450 people.
Woo! That is
wow.
49.
Awesome.
Tom is going to be that guy. It's
oh yeah, Tom, it's your time to shine, man.
Oh yeah.
It's your time to shine.
Yeah, so we've got a couple more days. I'm sure that the audience is completely familiar. It's been the talk of the community, for better. I'm not going to even say the other part because it's for the better. For ever since we launched it at Comic-Con. So the full package is the Ultimate Edition ring with those classic ring skirts, that classic neon entrance stage that when you picture classic WWE, that's what it is. And for the first time and maybe the only time, probably the only time, the Ultimate Edition Diesel. And that's our tier 1. But like Tom was saying, get it by this Friday, because this Friday at it's 12 Eastern, 9 Pacific is going to be the end of that Macho Madness Announcers Pack add-on, which is no extra cost, Ultimate Edition Macho Man with the extra announcer's hat, as well as the new gen announcer's table, and it's got the extra headset, so that way if you want to put Vince next to it, if you want to put Gorilla next to it, if you want to, and make room for Roddy because he was up there too. Stuff is crazy. It really is an amazing package. We really have tried very hard to listen to the community and be reactive in the moment as we really could. Like when people said that they were uncomfortable with the pay up front, we brought that feedback back, and now that charge is going to be pending until the end of the campaign when we know that it's funded. People said, well, it feels like we should have an extra figure. So we, found the space to do it, and the extra figure with the extra arena accessory. So this is what the feedback has told us. So this is what we're trying to deliver. If people are saying, oh, just make Doink unlockable, like you were saying, Tom, like that's not going to happen. It's like a little bit of a bridge too far. We've any additional feedback which I've been reading, which Steve has been reading, which other members of the team has been reading. We are taking that in, and we're making a list so that way the next time, because this is all breaking new ground for us, for the community. It's like it's been learnings all across the board, and the feedback that people have been giving with like what they really want, how much space, how much they would really want to spend. We have heard like a lot about the Attitude Era. So, if my vote, from the feedback that I see, I'm hearing a lot of the Attitude Era. So my vote would be like, okay, well, let's explore to see what we can do with the Attitude Era next. SmackDown Fist, we've heard, right? These are some ideas that have been out there. So we are hearing what everyone wants. We're really trying our hard to do right by you guys, and that's what it's really about. We want to give everyone something that they've never had, and in the way where they feel extremely satisfied. Like this is $250 well spent. Like I said, these crowdfunding campaigns, like I get it. They're expensive. I've jumped in on some and I've passed on some, because it is, it is a chunk of money that does kind of blow your hair back a little bit, and I think that also it's like, the size of things. I think that like also it's kind of interesting because there was like a pre-sale that happened today, and I was like, oh, we gotta have that figure, and all of a sudden it's like $200. I'm like, what? How did that happen so quickly?
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Yep. So it's just kind of interesting, I think, when it's like one big package and everything, as opposed to being like, oh, here's 20 and here's 20 and here's 20 and here's 20, and then all of a sudden, it's the same amount of price, but the money is being spent. The value is definitely there, especially now. So this is a great time to jump on it. My opinion on what's going to happen: we're going to see this funded. And I think that once it starts rolling over past that 5,000, you're going to start seeing a sprint for Doink. And I think then people who are like, oh, I kind of, I want to get it, but Doink's not going to happen. People have kind of thrown in. I'm like, we're 50% there. We've got just like a little bit over 50% of the way there. We still got these 2 points where we could see people jump into large chunks. So, and just kind of like, and that's like an educated guess based off of the lay of the land from previous crowdfunding campaigns. And if that Doink happens, I don't want anyone out there feeling like, oh man, I wish I had gotten on that macho. Like, guys, the payment is pending, and if it doesn't get funded, then you don't get charged. And if it succeeds, then you're getting everything, and then you're getting what you want. Yeah. I'm not going to even like talk about or even touch upon, like some people are talking about, like, secondary market resale value. I don't even want to go into that, because I want everyone to, I think that everyone, once they get this, people who are underestimating how amazing these 2 set pieces, the ring and that entrance stage are going to completely flip and going to be like, this is the coolest thing that I've ever seen. This is the coolest ring I've ever played with. Don't be that person with no regret, or be that person with no regrets.
Yeah.
100%. I agree. Like, nothing makes me madder. And I've like told people online, well, I'm not buying it till it hits to Doink. And I said, if everybody like you who's not buying it till it hits to Doink says that, we're not going to hit the Doink. Get out and support it, because there's a lot of you people saying that. You're only going to help by supporting it get there. The more people that buy it, the closer it's going to be. And then it's going to hit it. It's going to hit it. So stop. If you're on the fence, do it. You're not going to regret it. I'm not pushing people who can't afford it. fully understand that. You shouldn't get it. I don't want anybody going over their budget. But if you can, and if you're on a fence, this is not a purchase you're going to regret. We saw a question. I don't know if you saw it before. Somebody said,
I've seen a bunch of things running down there, so fire away.
yeah. Could the new gen arena's success lead to things like the funeral parlor, the snake pit, or Piper's Pit? Piper's Pit's been another one of my dreams since I was a little kid, but
oh, for sure. It depends on our legends deal, like Snake Pit, for example. I'm not sure where we're at with Jake, and he's somewhere else right now, but Roddy is definitely under a deal, and I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't say some of those ideas weren't thrown around as far as like what are some ideas about like what we could do next. Especially I think since the concerns about the size of the ring, which is intended to be like, this is going to be something that you get and then you don't need again. The only time when we would probably do another ring would be, I'm not saying we would never do it, but like, 5 years down the line or something like that, when we do like an authentic scale elimination chamber, and then you've got a brand new ring with new features. It's got to be new. It can't just. We're not going to push people to buy the ring every single one of these packages. So it's like if size is an issue, and space is an issue, as people have said, then I think that that the interview areas, one, they're so synonymous with classic WWE. Especially back during those days when it was like a full-on movie set.
Absolutely.
If we can do those the funeral parlor just kind of gets me like thinking. Let's say, like, gets my mouth watering. Like a bear and I saw this when Steve was on Sam's show. It was like Sam pitched. He's like, I want to see Paul Bearer and Undertaker, and then you could have Ultimate Warrior in there. And what I would love to see is a first time Mattel coffin to go, and you've got to have that in the funeral parlor. And I'm just like spitballing ideas out here, but yeah, all of that stuff is completely game. This thing gets funded.
That's awesome.
that is it's exciting for me because again, my first dream was always this ring. I've always wanted a Piper's Pit, so to know that that's on the table if this happens, you got to make it happen. We had Matthew Goldberg asked a question here. It disappeared now.
Oh.
There it is. Okay. There we go. If for some really sad reason this didn't happen, would you guys try again with all the feedback? I know Steve said it would be tough.
It would be tough. I mean, we would definitely have to regroup if this doesn't, and see like where the final numbers were at, where people's interests would lie. If if we're able to, I mean, never say never, but there are two definite paths. If it funds, it clears the path to make things easier, and if it doesn't, then it makes things harder. And I mean, is it impossible? Is it never going to happen? No, it's just like, management would take a look and being like, well, these people, this collector base for $250, they weren't going in, so we're definitely not doing $250, much less anything more expensive. What would be like a good price point, and where do we feel like this could go? Those would be the conversations that would have to and probably be likely to happen. It would be tough. Impossible. I mean, nothing is impossible. I think especially when you've got someone as passionate as Steve, really kind of driving the collector side of the business, and really bringing the feedback and really fighting for it in those meetings. But yeah, it's let's not even go there, because it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. And I agree a lot. We live in a society where everybody is last minute. So I agree. I think we're going to see a surge when it comes, to Friday, and the Macho Man's going to end, and then another surge at the very end. people not wanting to miss out. And like I said, people just wait these days. Nobody does the early bird and rushes to get it. So don't be that person. Make sure you do it now.
My thing, I was like, if by the time that we get to Macho Man, we're at like 55%, and I can see Macho taking us to like at least like, that end of the sale, if it gets us to like 60, 65 or whatever, then I think that we're in good shape for kind of like that final stretch in order to get to the finish line. And that's kind of like me lowballing it. I feel like we're right around the corner at 50 right now. And we still got, let's say, Tuesday. Yeah. So we still have 3 more days before the end of that Macho sale. And with the way that things have been going, it's totally possible that we could get to 55% before Friday.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think that, I noticed, and I'm sure you guys noticed, once you added the Macho, we saw a steady increase over the last week since he was added in. So also that has to help you realize how things to do for the next one. And putting a name in there like Macho Man, wow, that made a big difference.
It was that, and it was that second figure. So I think that part of the initial offering about just having one figure is especially I think when you're in a action figure based business, is I feel like we would probably have to lead with our best foot, and I think our best foot is a 2-figure offering, or maybe we just continue to do an early bird thing and kind of like people get on and then we stretch out early bird, and that's how you get your second figure off the bat. All these are discussions we would have to have, but for people, I think that it's very important for people to, if it's not built in, to at least have the opportunity to have 2 figures off the bat, even if it's minimally funded.
Yeah, that makes sense. Awesome. Like I said, I thought the value was there before. I never complained about the value, but
I agree because it is. It really is. But we definitely want to hear. We want to show people that that we're listening, because we are, and be reactive when we're able to, and we were able to.
Sure. And bravo, like you guys have shown that you're listening. You're instantly responding to things. You and Steve are out there answering people's questions. You're popping up on podcasts. You've come on here with us. Thank you. And this is not during your work time. This is when you're done with work. You're just doing this with your time to try and that shows how much it means to you guys, how much it means to us. So we're here to support you, and especially when we see you guys with the passion, that drives my passion for it even more. Every time I listen to Sam's thing last week, I listened to the Major Brothers, I listened to you tonight. It keeps making me want it more if possible. I don't know how I could possibly want it more, but
it's been an incredible reaction amongst the community. I mean, it's been controversial, I'll definitely say that, but people like you guys, like Matt, Brian, and Mark, like Sam, I've been on a couple of different ones recently this week. I've got like a few more lined up. People have really wanted to come together and kind of do their best to promote it. And to me, it's kind of like, it's one of the beautiful things about this community is like wrestling figures really are what can bring us all together. So to see not just thank you, first of all, one, for having me on here for sure, but two, also for recognizing that, that we're pounding the pavement to really try to get word out there so that way people can have the opportunity to have this. And I'm glad that it's infectious. Like, people should be excited about this, and people should want to spread the word about this. I got my father-in-law to do it. Someone asked me today, being like, "Hey, can you give a Ravishing Robert thing?" And I got a 24-hour Facebook ban because I did a Ravishing Rick Rude style promo. And I guess that when you call people fat, ugly sweat hogs, that Facebook is like, that's against our policy. So I apologize if you've been asking questions today and I haven't responded. I'll get to them tomorrow.
No, listen, wow. You totally see the love behind this project. It's passion, it's love, it's dedication, being open with the community. and you really are putting in the work, and it's just so, it's beautiful magic to see. You know, it's so cool to see everybody trying to like rally for this thing to be made, be built. I think that's the fun of the crowdfunding aspect of it. Like we're all just kind of like, yeah, man, we want it. You want it. Let's get it done. You know, it's old school paper in the crowd. You know, trying to just get it done. And like, you know, I applaud you guys for just caring so much about not just your work, but like what you're trying to give to the community, the fans, anybody that, you know, is even tempted to buy it. You know, you're giving them leeway. That Macho Man, like I'm the biggest. If I didn't buy it before the Macho Man was announced, that was my sell. You know, and I'm the biggest Macho Man fan. He was the guy that captured wrestling for me in my childhood. And
for sure.
Yeah, and so I did. Oh yeah, you know, I really needed to get, like, I was like, oh hell yeah, I'm getting these Macho Mans on the house now. You know, thank you guys for like just working like that. Like you really pushed it out there above and beyond. And
I feel like we've been on fire with Randy lately. Like the Legends Cream of the Crop Macho. Like who would have thought that we would have been able to do that?
Mine's coming in the mail. I'm so excited to get it. I love, like, even this, like going back to the Slim Jim Macho Man. You know, the latest Ultimate Edition that you guys just did. You guys really you capture the Macho Man essence, and it was awesome to see that he signed with Mattel. You know, because he was missing from the collections for the longest time. There's that long gap there where we were like, oh man, one day. But then we got the video over to, ooh, yeah, and it was like, oh my, like I was almost in tears when I first seen that. So like it was just like, oh, and he's in the best hands ever. You know, nobody's gonna do it better than you guys do. It's so cool, just and all of that, just to see your passion towards it all. It makes me happy to be a collector of your guys' product in the long run. You know what I mean? Like it's we're all patting each other on the back.
That's awesome. I love hearing that. And I think, I mean, that first Macho, the Defining Moments one, it's kind of like cemented in history as far as being one of the best action figures of all time. I mean, I really can't wait to see this WrestleMania 10 one, because I'm like, is this going to be the one that tops that first Defining Moments Macho?
Well, I mean, you guys knock it out of the park, because you got the Slim Jim Macho, which was a whole nother level also. Like, I mean, a Macho Man is my favorite. My two favorites are Macho Man and Piper. You could make anything of them, and I'll buy 4 or 5 of each of them just to make sure I have enough. But like, you just keep knocking it out of the park with Macho Man. I've got the Cream of the Crop one too. I've got a couple of the regulars. I had to trade a Gorilla Monsoon for a Chase. But I had an extra Gorilla Monsoon. It wasn't my only Gorilla Monsoon. Yeah, I mean, I just know Macho Man's my favorite, so I can't wait to see this figure either. And just the idea, I remember him doing the announcing and him and Piper, when you probably remember this, and you were probably as shocked as me. Remember on Superstars when Flair came out and he started smacking Piper in the back of the head, and Macho Man was right there in between him, and Vince McMahon got hit with the chair, and that was the first time Vince ever got involved in anything. I just remember sitting there and having it on VCR and rewinding it and watching that. Oh my God, Vince got hit with the chair. Oh, who are your favorites? I mean, since you quick pause from that, you know, you grew up the same generation as me, so who are your favorites?
When I was a kid, I mean, it's like the ones that everyone loved were Hogan and Macho, and I did love those guys, but I'm always one of these guys about who are these guys who aren't getting as much appreciation, and I want to be fans of those guys. So like Tito Santana, Paul Orndorff. You know, I still think that they should have put the strap on the Killer Bees. I do, but
100%. I love the Killer Bees too.
Yeah, I was very early on to the Brett train. Brett and Owen very much. Like I was a fan of Brett on his first singles, like as a tag team, of course, with the Hearts and their feud with the Bulldogs. But then when they turned face and he did his initial singles run before he went back to tag team and then went back to singles and kind of took off like we all knew he would, is he's just like, you go back and watch Brett, and he was a wrestler ahead of his time. And it's not just like the backbreakers and the elbow and like the pinpoint elbow drops and all those and you know, the pile drivers and everything they did that was so crisp. Go back and watch a Bret Hart match and watch his punches. People don't do punches like Bret Hart does anymore, and they absolutely should. Like, his punches are extremely underrated. Modern times, I jumped as soon as I saw Pete Dunne. I was sold. I love the guy doesn't say it, but he oozes. It's not the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog. And like, my wife, when she was watching it, she was like, I like the way that, like, he's not big, but the way that he carries himself, like, he's not intimidated by everyone. I was like, yeah, that's why he's awesome. I mean, it's hard to find someone who I didn't like. You know, at different points, Jake, Warrior, Taker, Kane, huge into DX, huge into NWO before it got like overly inflated. Flair, and then there are guys who I didn't like, and it took me until I got older to realize that's what made them so good. Jeff Jarrett, I did not like Jeff Jarrett at all growing up. And then I got older and I went back and rewatched it. I was like, damn, he was so good. He was so good at everything that he did. Hardy's like jumping on board, and like the Hardys are, I mean, I could just like go on and on. I just like stare at my shelf and be like,
I do the same thing. I look over here, and that's but you mentioned Tito Santana. So underrated. If you go back and watch some of his matches with Greg Valentine, they were ahead of their time. The physicality in those matches, going back and forth. The steel cage match when Tito regained the Intercontinental
that was the
title.
One that I watched. And then my heart broke when Randy pulled the brass knucks out of his trunks and cheated to take the strap off him. I saw that so many times over at my grandparents' house, and I was like, no, it's going to be different this time.
I remember that. That was actually, it's so funny that I watched on the morning of my sister's christening, and they're telling me to get ready. And I was such a huge Macho fan even back then. I just kept watching it, getting yelled at, no, you have to get ready. And I just had to keep watching it. But yeah, those it's such an amazing, like, people who aren't wrestling fans don't understand the passion we have and what it means to us. And that's, you know, growing up as a fan, I never took a break and always collecting figures. And this ring coming to life and this project coming to life, it's just like come full circle. And I think that's why it means so much to a lot of us.
It does. And I mean, and I'm also like looking to pass that down to the next generation. Like, I'll come in here when my kids are downstairs, and I'll just like set up figures inside of the ring, just kind of like put them on the corners and the ropes to set up, and being like, this is your guys' match for the day. And then they'll wander in and being like, Dad, did you do that? And it also kind of like inspires them. My 5-year-old is like posing figures out in the ring, not just like standing them there, but he's actually got them doing moves. I'm like, and he does it because he sees me like putting up these guys in different poses, and that warms my heart. Because that gives awesome. Me like, this is going to be something that's just that's going to continue to live on. Like, think about how long this brand has been around. I mean, like how long it's like really been hitting hard. It's been since the 80s, and it's like had its peaks and valleys, but it really has kind of been nonstop. From LJNs to Hasbro's to Jax, and now over with us, it's a legacy brand, and to be able to put my personal thumbprint on it, whether I'm saying, Bill, like, what about this guy? And Bill's like, no one wants that guy, and then 6 months later, it's like, I'm going to do that guy. Or
he just has to make it look like it's his idea. That's all.
or whether it's this Ultimate Edition arena, which is truly groundbreaking, and it's new, and it's a little bit uncomfortable for some people, and I get that. But I think that the more that you sit on it, the more it's going to be like, do I really want to miss this opportunity in wrestling action figure history? I mean, for me, that's a hard no. I do not want to miss this.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
Very well put.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you again so much. This was so much fun. Thank you for joining us. We took a trip down memory lane. Again, I feel so fortunate. I got to grow up and I've watched everything from the 80s on. You know, a lot of people have to go back, but I lived it all. Like I was at Madison Square Garden. Remember the brawl to settle it all? Hogan versus Piper that set up WrestleMania. I was there. So I still remember the garden shaking for that when Mr. T jumped out of the audience, and like that was moments that, you know, I was there with my dad. Nobody could ever take that away from me. So, and you're passing that down to your kids.
My first house show was Hogan versus Funk was the headliner. I mean,
oh my god,
I know,
awesome,
I know.
Man.
It's what a way to start out your live wrestling show experience.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, I love it. We all love it. It's important to us. It's important to us as fans. It's important to us as collectors. It's important to us as creators. And I mean, like I said, I think it's not a matter of if, it's only a matter of when. And don't live in what if, don't live in regret. We've seen that in the past, and you don't want to be the guy who's like, man, now that everyone has it, I wish that I had come on when it was the actual price it was supposed to be, and now I've got to get it off of someone's secondary where the prices have been exploded, because we've all been there. We've all been there, whether it be for a figure or a set or anything like that. And this is not one where you want to be there for on the secondary market, especially if you're like, is $250 more expensive? Because I guarantee you, simple math says double that price if it follows. And again, I'm not suggesting flipping. I'm just going off of what the what the trajectory of previous crowd funds have been, and kind of what it says about like what's likely to happen with this one, where people immediately tried to sell them for twice the value, and now you're stuck having to be like, well, you know, now I'm trying to shell out $500 because I'm feeling the FOMO. Don't let FOMO be the one that shoots you down. Let it be the thing that kind of brings you in.
Yeah, and like I said in the major pod group, don't be the person spending $250 for the Ultimate Macho when you can get the whole set for $250 now.
Yeah,
Such a great point.
Because people will be doing that, and
yeah.
whoever is
That's
watching
true.
and don't back live FOMO and will miss out on a rare Macho figure. Ain't that the truth? Because whatever it ends at, that's all there are going to be of this figure. It's probably going to be the rarest Ultimate Edition figure out there. This Macho,
definitely to date. 100% to date. It'll be less quantities than Diesel, less quantities than Doink, and everything else is far more than either of those two guys. Like, I'm not going to give exact numbers on like what they are, but I will say it's significantly more than 5,000 or 7,000, and certainly more than say we get, what are we at now? We're at about,
we're 2450 right now.
2450. We're at 49%.
Hit the 50.
Yep. 2452.
So say this gets up to 3,000 by the end of the Macho thing, and then, you know, we've got another week and a half to go. That means one of 3,000 of a beautiful Macho that again, the deco on that is so high you'd never be able to get it with in any other way. And people are saying, you know, well, you know, but you know, you can go to that's all part of the hunt. You know, you go to a hunt and then you try, which, you know, fair. You know, that's a fair point. You know, to get it here, but in the end, this is, you go for part of the hunt and you might find something like at another store, or maybe you go to, or maybe it pops up at Big Lots randomly, right? This, once we're done on the 22nd, we're done. There is no Big Lots like quick finds here. It's not going to be you suddenly stumble into a Target and, oh, here's a straggler that someone returned. Like, this is going to be it. So right now, yes, everyone can get it. But by this time this gets produced, a year from now, and people start getting it, do people who are saying that, you know, that anyone who can get it now are going to get it, and people who are passing on it aren't interested, do those people honestly think that a year from now that we're not going to see a new influx of wrestling figure collectors who are going to be like, man, how I regret not being around when when this thing was made. Like, this thing is evolving. There are people like us who have been in since the very beginning of wrestling figure collecting, and there are people who are just jumping in now and getting and their introduction to wrestling are elites and ultimates, and that's going to be the way that it continues. I mean, I was like kind of like in and out, and even I've had to kind of like go back and being like, okay, what elites am I missing from my collection? Because I didn't get one initially in the game. I was at Jax when the WWE license left Jax and then came into Mattel just as it was transitioning over to Mattel. So it's like, you know, are people going to respond to this? And yeah, we all are roasting about that. How he was kind of like pissed off about how, you know, classics were gone, and he was mad, and now he had to jump in. People are like that, and that's just the nature. That's just the nature of people. But don't go thinking that just because people have the utmost availability to get it now, that when this thing is in your hands, that people are not going to be like, how did you get that?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a treasure, you know. It's going to be like a grail piece to have, not only, you know, in your collection, but like on display. It's a museum piece, you know what I mean?
It really, really is. And just in closing, I just, you know, these last couple of weeks, I've got to speak to Steve and I've got to speak to you. And growing up a collector, I just can't thank you guys enough for the enjoyment you give me in my life and collecting these figures and loving these figures. And just it means so much that you guys come on, and I don't get to speak to you guys, but I just want to thank you for everything you do from the bottom of my heart. You know, we love these figures. We love you guys. We love your support. We love how you're listening. Thank you so much, man. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome.
Thanks for sharing the passion, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And thank you for having me on, and you're welcome. We try to do right because we want to do right by ourselves too. Like, we're part of this community. So everyone, if you haven't already, or even if you already had, MattelCreations.com, the Ultimate Edition Arena with the Macho Madness Announcers Pack is going on sale until this Friday, and then the Ultimate Edition Arena will continue to be on sale until the 22nd, 12 Eastern, 9 Pacific, and hashtag unlock the arena.
Hashtag unlock the arena. Don't go use it. Spread the word. Get it out there, guys. We need this. We will get this. Let's get
Absolutely.
Going.
Yeah, let's get going. Let's get
it all.
Yo.
It's a matter of time.
Thank you.
Thanks
so much again, guys.
This was fun.
Thank you, sir. It's been a pleasure.
Man, we can't thank you enough again. That's it for us, guys. We'll be back Thursday night with our regular Fig Night at the Tavern.
Woo!
We'll see you then. Take care.
All right, guys.